Time during the initial stages of your indictment involving this whole Tammy Thomas thing, did you talk to Big Meech or did you send a message to Big Meech in any way to tell him or to alert him of what was going on?
We sent Big Meech certified mail. Big Meech set me up, and Tammy set me up with this thing in 2013.
Well, did Blue Da Vinci cooperate or no?
Yeah, he cooperated. I mean, I didn't say it. It was in Miss Mara Shalhoub's book, where his own lawyer said, yeah, if there was anything else that we could do, Your Honor, to help you along with this.
He is being referred to as a snitch. A low rumble, the kind that travels through the streets like wildfire, was the beginning of the rumors. However, 50 Cent is now stoking the fires by displaying documents that he says demonstrate Big Meech, the infamous Black Mafia family mastermind, was involved on both sides. We're digging right into the bombshell allegations that have the potential to destroy a legend. And you're locked in with Urban Lux. However, where did 50 Cent obtain this alleged smoking gun in the underworld? Rumors are circulating on the streets that former BMF members who were formerly enthusiastic about the cause are now singing a different tune. They are allegedly providing 50 Cent with the ammunition he needs to carry out this attack. Once the glue that kept empires together, loyalty now appears to be crumbling under the pressure of time, fear, and celebrity.
And then my homeboy that was with me, he was like, Tone Bird, he from BMF too. Tone was like, ask Big Homie what's up with the movie with 50, like what's going on with him from New York. I had to use my New York accent. Yo, what's going on with the 50 Cent movie? So I'm like, oh, yo, Meech, what's up with this?
And Big Meech is reportedly prepared to face 50 Cent head-on in a face-to-face confrontation to set the record straight and remind everyone who the real power players are. Forget the Instagram beef, but don't think for a moment that he's just sitting back in silence while his name gets dragged through the mud. This could be a completely different level of confrontation.
Be more than willing to cooperate with you all to help you in this investigation. But now the thing of it is by you admitting what was done, you know what I'm saying, what you done or whatever, but bottom line is, you know, you didn't take the single plea.
For this isn't just some trivial celebrity shit. It's about legacy and the meticulously crafted myth of Big Meech. As you may know, 50 Cent has a reputation for going after targets hard and using his vast resources to magnify any perceived disrespect, which could escalate into an unrelenting campaign.
On that they already had and thought it was cool, but you still, you know, that was part of that. You just confirmed other that the other CIs just done told.
He's like, I just gotta wait to holler at Tammy before, you know what I'm saying, I know where we at with that. And Tammy is a government informant. So when he said that, I was like, Tammy, what you mean, Tammy? Like, nigga.
50 might have just woken up a behemoth, because his name reverberates from coast to coast. Demetrius Big Meech Flannery isn't some flashy celebrity. A representation of ambition, strength, and an unrepentantly edge-living lifestyle. Let's go back a moment. Meech and his brother Terry. Southwest T began at the bottom in the 1980s, slinging $50 bags and constructing their empire. Illegally, one brick at a time. They had turned that enterprise into a nationwide drug trafficking juggernaut by the early 2000s. With operations in Michigan, Georgia, Florida, California, and Louisiana. With fleets of automobiles, mounds of money, and enough street cred to rival anyone, the scale was staggering. The feds, however, were observing. They started BMF Entertainment, a gaudy front that also functioned as a legitimate party marketing company to hide their business. But the main show was behind the scenes. The catch is that BMF Entertainment wasn't all that it seemed. One of their actual artists, Blue Da Vinci, released an album called The World Is BMF's in 2005. It appeared genuine at first glance, but the walls were closing in behind closed doors. When the federal government seized BMF in October 2003, Meech quickly traded in his expensive chains for a cell block and jumpsuit. Guess who took the brunt of the finger-pointing that ensued? Da Vinci's Blue. He was viewed by many in the BMF circle as the weakest member and the most prone to falter. What about the timing? Be suspicious. Despite the fact that Meech was taken down by the D, Blue managed to escape unharmed. By 2004, the rumors were rampant. BMF's logistics chief, Dexter Sosa Hussey, accused Blue in public of assisting the police. Blue's own attorney acknowledged in court that he had made an effort to cooperate during debriefings, but had nothing useful to contribute. The question that lingered in the streets was, if Blue didn't snitch, then who did? Then, in 2023, Blue finally speaks up in a shocking interview with K Capone News by claiming that Tammy Cowan was the real source who gave the feds what they required. He changes the narrative. Furthermore, this was no ordinary player. Meech's reliable business partner Tammy had been close to him since 2008. Even after his incarceration, Meech granted Tammy the rights to his life narrative, demonstrating her loyalty. In 2021, she collaborated with 50 Cent to co-produce the BMF series using that. Here's the worst part though. Tammy's extensive insider knowledge, not just anecdotes, but concrete facts, opened a significant money laundering case. Terry White, a prominent person in the drug trade, was directly arrested as a result of her assistance. Furthermore, Tammy wasn't initially compensated for the information. However, her D handler, Agent Harsh, suggested that she get a large reward, a portion of the forfeited assets, as her information resulted in White's arrest and the seizure of money, vehicles, and houses. Money is at stake here. Blood, money, and now the streets are questioning everything. Interview
up in an Atlanta housing project. But when FBI and GBI agents arrested him last night, he was living here, a sprawling $200,000 mansion in Jonesboro.
Had a media room where there were 24 TV sets on one wall hooked to a satellite dish, and you could.
The twist becomes much stranger. Tammy had no traditional motivation for becoming an informant, like financial desperation or fear of legal repercussions. According to the documentation, there are no outstanding charges or substance addiction problems. She was acknowledged by the federal agents as one of the oddest informants they had ever met. The motivation? Unadulterated retaliation. Rumor has it that Terry White laundered his illicit wealth through Tammy without her knowledge. She allegedly made the decision to completely change the course of events after realizing the deceit was a personal matter, not one of celebrity, wealth, or self-preservation. Tammy played the game with ice in her veins and craved revenge. However, why did Tammy keep giving information after Terry White was imprisoned? At this point, the threads. Big Meech was planning his own power move from inside the prison while Tammy was covertly cooperating. He made contact with Fidel Suarez, a prominent cartel leader who oversaw a huge trucking company in California. Suarez had already been detained twice on suspicion of trafficking, but had escaped conviction both times, so he was no stranger to law enforcement. Meech recognized a chance. He allegedly planned to use Suarez's distribution network to keep the stuff flowing even after the area was sealed off. He intended to maintain a steady flow of revenue by continuing to manage his enterprise from his cell to carry out his intentions. However, he required an outside ally he could trust. Returning to the fold is Tammy Cowan. Leaked records reveal that Meech reached out to Tammy, also known as CS1, in September 2011 and asked her directly for help in organizing a delivery that Suarez was meant to take care of. Suarez and Tammy were already communicating by this time. Suarez initially contacted Meech to ask how she was doing, but this seemingly innocuous exchange quickly turned into something much more. Tammy was supposedly the key that Meech used to link Fidel Suarez to his long-standing partner Dion Cuff Gatling, a prominent drug trafficker who managed the supply of drugs into St. Louis between 2009 and 2014. Meech, Suarez, and Gatling allegedly joined up to transport large amounts of cocaine across state lines. Unbeknownst to them, however, Tammy was their shadow, informing the feds of every detail. Her information helped police create a strong case, which led to Gatling's arrest on March 13, 2014. In the end, Gatling was given an incredible 27-year sentence for narcotics, trafficking, and weapons offenses connected to a transaction that killed someone. The incredible part comes next. Meech was not prosecuted for planning this whole thing from behind bars. In spite of his obvious involvement, how did he escape indictment? It's the startling truth. Tammy blatantly lied under oath to defend Meech during a court hearing when he was specifically asked if he had orchestrated the cocaine trade between Suarez and Gatling. She gave Meech vital cover despite all of her cooperation against others. The feds were instantly alarmed by this seeming gesture of allegiance. They discovered that Tammy's motivations were much more nuanced and that her credibility as an informant had been undermined. However, the network of dishonesty grows. It happens. Tammy was also romantically engaged with one of the DHNs who worked on the case for which she was an informant. The investigation's integrity was eventually compromised by this entanglement, which made it even more difficult. Tammy was managing every angle in a risky game. But after a while, the walls started to close in, as they usually do. When Tammy learned about a suppression motion submitted by Gatling's legal team in March 2015, her entire world began to fall apart. She could have been identified as the CS1 confidential informant as a result of this move. Tammy was understandably terrified by the realization. Dion Cuff Gatling was known to be violent. According to court documents, he was involved in the murders of Terrence Morgan, who was going to work with the federal government against Gatling in 2013, and Theus Howard, who had snitched on Gatling's brother in 2010. Tammy worried for her life. Her identity was discovered since she was aware of Gatling's brutality. She turned to the government in a desperate attempt to get protection, but they allegedly did not help her. Tammy took one last desperate step, since she had nowhere else to go. Big Meech was the place she visited. She thought he would provide her sanctuary after years of devotion, but Meech supposedly didn't want to be involved, according to reports. He rejected her because embroiled in controversy or attracted Gatling's notice. Tammy apparently changed strategies and tried to remove Meech's name from the lawsuit completely after being left with no other choice. She even said that the D agent she was working with was envious of her connection to Meech. As CS1, Tammy threatened to submit an unsworn affidavit prepared to reveal what she said was a false relationship between Meech, Gatling, and Suarez. According to court filings, Agent Chroma only implicated Meech out of anger, she claimed. The entire story is a wild ride filled with power struggles, treachery, and surprising turns. If you want to keep up with this kind of breaking drama, hit subscribe. The scenario is still developing. How do you feel about the entire situation?